Hello students, welcome to my lecture on endocrinology. This is the first lecture and it covers the basics of endocrinology, and we will be discussing it in a way that how questions are asked in the competitive exams. So it will be covering both the university exam syllabus as well as we will emphasize on the questions which are asked in competitive exams also. So we'll start with endocrinology. I hope you have a pen and pencil with you because I'll be asking some questions and I'll be asking you things to note down during this lecture. So keep your pen, pencil and a copy handy with you. We'll start with the history of endocrinology. See, the discoverer of Edison disease, Dr. Thomas Edison, he is known as the father of endocrinology. And he was the first who described that due to the low functioning of adrenal gland, Edison's disease occurs. Now, this Edison's disease is just due to the hyposecretion of the hormones from the adrenal cortex. Remember, from the adrenal cortex. We are not talking about the adrenal medulla. Due to this discovery, he's termed as the father of endocrinology. And this Edison disease is an autoimmune disorder. See, autoimmune disorder means the body cells themselves kill the cells of adrenal cortex. So it's an autoimmune disorder. So when the cells of the adrenal gland are killed, the secretion of the adrenal gland declines. So when the secretion declines, a condition develops which is termed as Edison's disease, and we give this credit to the discoverer, Dr. Thomas Edison. Now see, when you read the spelling, it's Dr. Thomas Addison. That's why the disease is called as Edison disease, Addi. You've also heard of Thomas Edison, Thomasedison. Edison, the spelling of surname Edison. This Thomas Edison is different. He has over more than 1,000 patents to his name, and he is not the discoverer of Edison's disease. This Thomas Edison is different, and he did many discoveries like the discovery of phonogram, etc. Now, why do we study endocrinology? See, the body maintains a steady state. The body maintains a steady state, and that steady state is called as homeostasis. So we have two systems which maintain the steady state. First is the nervous system, and second is the endocrine system. So both they control and coordinate the body system. That's why the control and coordination of the body is governed by two systems, the nervous system and the endocrine system. Further, we will study why we have two systems for control and coordination. So the first, father of endocrinology. Now see, the father, there is a basic question which is asked in exams. Who is credited with the discovery of hormones? Now, since the student studies that the father of endocrinology is Thomas Edison, and he supposes that the first hormone was also discovered by Thomas Edison. No. So the discovery of hormones, the history of the discovery of hormones is like this. See, Starling and Bayliss. Starling and Bayliss, they were the first to purify an hormone called as secretin. Anyone of you remember from where secretin is secreted? Anyone try to put some pressure on your brain and try to remember secretin is secreted by any gland you can put up in the chat box. See, secretin is a hormone which is secreted by our alimentary canal, the intestine. So it's a gastrointestinal hormone. So this was the first hormone which was purified, and it was purified by Starling and Bayliss. So the first hormone to be purified is secretin, and Starling was the first who gave the term hormone in 1905. The first hormone, secretin, was purified in 1902, and after 3 years, Starling gave the term hormone. hormone. In 1914, Edward Kendall, he isolated thyroxine from the thyroid extract, and in 1921, a major discovery related to hormones occurred when Banting and Best, they extracted insulin from the pancreatic extracts. And this was a major discovery which led to the changing of scenario for the diabetes patients. Another important discovery is the discovery of radioimmunoassays. Rosalind Yellow and S. A. Burson in 1960 discovered the basis for radioimmunoassays for hormones. Now, why is radioimmunoassay important for hormones? Why it's an important discovery? See, hormones are secreted in very low amounts, and if any hypo or hyper secretion has to be detected in blood, we need to have a technique which can detect the changes in so low amounts of hormone. So radioimmunoassays, they provide us a technique to detect the presence of hormones in very low concentrations in the blood, because hormones, they are not transported in the pure form in the blood. Only 1%, less than 1% of the hormone is transported in pure form. So this is a question which is asked in competitive exams, that which of the following technique is used to detect the presence of hormones in blood. So the answer is radioimmunoassay. There are different types of radioimmunoassays which are used for the detection of hormones. So the first hormone to be purified was secretin. Now see, Addison's disease. Since we are talking about the discovery or the father of endocrinology, so we'll discuss the Addison's disease here only. Addison's disease, many questions are asked in the competitive exam that what are the symptoms of Addison's disease? The main question which is asked is Addison's disease is due to, it occurs due to what? Due to low secretion of mineralocorticoids, higher secretion of glucomineralocorticoid, hyposecretion of adrenal modular hormone, hypersecretion of adrenal cortex hormone. If you see, Addison's disease is due to hyposecretion of gluco and mineralocorticoid, both. In some books you will read it is due to glucocorticoid, it is due to mineralocorticoid. See, it depends on what amount of the cortex has been destroyed due to this autoimmune disorder. So it's mainly due to hyposecretion of glucocorticoid and the mineralocorticoids. Now see, glucocorticoids, they will control the amount of glucose. So when you will see the options of Addison's disease, this option may not be present. But another option which is related to the presence or absence of the glucose in the blood may be present. So you have to relate that hyposecretion of glucocorticoids will lead to what status of glucose. Mineralocorticoid, the sodium level in the blood will also change. See, if you see a symptom which is mentioned in this image is skin hyperpigmentation, and after that you see low blood pressure. Now see, low blood pressure is controlled mainly by which ion? Sodium ion. So when the blood pressure is low, it means the sodium ion in the body is disturbed. So the mineralocorticoids, they control the sodium ion concentration in the extracellular and the body fluids. So the low blood pressure means that the mineralocorticoids are low. That's why the sodium concentration in the blood is low. That's why the blood pressure is low. So you have to relate options. In endocrinology, the options will not come in the same language as you have decided. So the options may change. You have to apply your thoughts. So the correct answer here is the hyposecretion of gluco and the mineralocorticoids. It may be, the option may be there, hyposecretion of the hormone secreted by the adrenal cortex. If this option is glucocorticoid and mineralocorticoid is not present, then that option will become the correct option. So you have to identify the correct option, but you have to keep in mind that Addison's disease is due to an autoimmune disorder. So autoimmune disorder will destroy the gland. So when it destroys the gland, it means the secretion will become low. So that when it will lead, so the answer will be the hyposecretion, and the symptoms will be related to the hyposecretion of glucocorticoid and the mineralocorticoids. So we'll go further. See, now there are some important terms which we all need to know. What is an endocrine gland? What are endocrine cells? What are neurohemal organs? What are neurosecretory cells? Are they all similar or they are different? See, when you study the evolution of endocrine glands, when you study porifera, when you study protozoa. So in animal kingdom, when we study porifera, can anyone of you name any endocrine cell in porifera? Any endocrine cell in porifera or an endocrine gland? See, a gland cannot be present in porifera because the poriferans, they are cellular aggregate body plan. So they do not have any system. They do not have a circulatory system. Now, when we study endocrine glands, we say that they release hormones into the blood. Now, the blood is not present here. So when the blood is not present, can they have an endocrine gland system? Not possible because the circulatory system is absent. Second thing, the glands, they are not formed. The tissues are not present in the porifera. So there is no question of having any endocrine gland in porifera. So, and even the nerve cells are absent. So when the nerve cells are absent, no control and coordination is occurring by the help of any endocrine cell or through the nerve cell. So porifera, they do not have any endocrine cell as such. Now the cnidarians, when we study cnidarians or the coelentrates and the ctenophorans, they are supposed to secrete some neuropeptides. Now see, neuropeptide, the word says neuro. Neuro means the nerve cells which are present in these organisms, they will secrete the neuropeptides and which are helpful in inducing metamorphosis. So for cnidarians, even they do not have endocrine system, but they have some endocrine cells which secrete neuropeptides, and they have been discovered in various coelentrates like sea anemones. When we go up towards after cnidaria, ctenophora, when we reach to platyhelminths, esculminths, now both these phylums, they do not have any specialized endocrine gland. They have endocrine cells in the nervous system which are acting as, which are secreting hormones. So now since the neurosecretory cells are secreting hormones, they are called as the neurohormones. So hormones are being secreted, but not by glands, by cells, and the cells which are secreting are mostly neurons. So that's why the cells are called as the neurosecretory cells, and the hormones are not called as hormones, they are called as neurohormones. So esculminths, platyhelminths, they do not show presence of any gland. Now Annelida, this is a question which is commonly asked in competitive exams, that which was the first phylum to show presence of endocrine glands. See, annelids, they do not have endocrine glands. Again, they have the neurosecretory cells, which are the separate endocrine cells which are present associated with the nervous system, and they are secreting their content directly into the body. So the endocrine glands are not present, the endocrine cells are present. So annelids, they do not have any specific endocrine glands. When we move forward, when we study in books, the book says that mollusks, they have an organ called as the pericardial organ. Now what is a pericardial organ? It's a neurohemal organ. You must have studied cockroach. Can anyone of you name any endocrine gland in cockroach? Try. Have you heard the name corpora alata? Corpora cardiaca? Any name you have heard? See, in cockroach, when you go, the nervous system and the endocrine and the secretory system is divisible into neurosecretory cells and glands. The neurosecretory cells are the cells which secrete hormones, and they are mainly neurons. So it's the same as in Annelida, Esculmintha, platyhelminth. But here, specific glands are also present which secrete hormone directly by themselves. They do not need neurons. So the hormone is secreted by the gland itself. So what do endocrine glands do? They also secrete the hormones by themselves. But then how do neurohemal organ differs from endocrine glands? See, the neurohemal organs, they can secrete the hormone, but they cannot release the hormone without a nervous stimulation. So corpora alata, corpora cardiaca, these glands, they are present in cockroach, but they need, they secrete the hormones also, but they need an external nervous stimulation to release the hormone. So the hormone is released only when the nervous stimulation is present. Such organs are not termed as true endocrine gland, they are termed as neurohemal organs. So the corpora alata, corpora cardiaca, which are present in cockroach, they are example of these neurohemal organs. So the question arises, which was the first phylum to show presence of endocrine glands? See, the next phylum is Arthropoda. Arthropoda, after Arthropoda, we have Echinodermata, and then we have Chordata. Hemichordata is also present. So, endocrine glands as a structure developed for the first time in. Now, when you go through Arthropoda, and you remember there is one more gland in cockroach which is related to molting, which is called as prothoracic gland. Now, see, this prothoracic gland is itself a self-governed unit. It does not need a nervous stimulation to release its hormones into the blood. So, in Arthropoda, we see specific examples of specialized self-working endocrine glands, which do not need a nervous stimulation to release the hormones into the blood. Similarly, in crustacea, Y organ and androgenic glands, they are very well known. So now when we'll attempt these questions related to the origin of endocrine glands, we have to remember that the first phylum to show presence of endocrine gland is Arthropoda. And we have to also remember that in some books it's written corpora elata and corpora cardiaca are the endocrine glands of cockroach. See, we have to be very specific when we are studying at this level that endocrine glands will not need a nervous stimulation to release the hormones. So the neurohemal organ, corpora elata and corpora cardiaca, they are basically the neurohemal organ. Prothoracic gland, the Y organ, the androgenic gland in crustacea, insecta, they can be termed as two endocrine glands. So this is about. So today we just touched the topic. It's not about cramming. It's about how we approach to the subject. You have to integrate endocrinology, that is physiology part, with the animal kingdom, and to other part, the molecular biology, the cell biology, and then only you will get a holistic. याद नहीं करना पड़ेगा, रटना नहीं पड़ेगा. You won't need to cram anything. Just to revise today. आज अपन ने जो पढ़ा, कुछ नहीं. It's not a test. लेकिन याद करने की कोशिश करना है अपन को कि मेरे को क्वेश्चन सुनते ही जवाब आ रहा है क्या. Ready? Okay. So the first question. The first hormone to be purified was. You can write down. अपने आप लिखते जाओ. पहला क्वेश्चन जो पूछा तुम्हें याद आया या नहीं आया? अभी के अभी. Okay. So the first hormone to be purified was. Addison's disease is due to. Write down the reason. Is due to. Then Addison's disease is what type of disorder? Autoimmune disorder, physiological disorder, etc. Addison's disease is due to what type of disorder? Okay. Glucocorticoids control what? See, the word glucose is present, so this is the hint. So they must be related to the metabolism of carbohydrates. So insulin is another hormone which we relate to diabetes and glucose. So now are insulin and the glucocorticoids having the same function? So this is what you need to find. Because we know in the Addison's disease, glucocorticoids are lowering down. So what effect they are having on the glucose? So this you should be able to relate with insulin also. So you just study what and how insulin and glucocorticoids are related. You know the function of insulin. So whenever any question comes related to glucocorticoids in the competitive exam, you will be able to apply this technique and to find out what will be the effect on the level of glucose. Okay, this is the homework. You have to find out the difference between glucocorticoids and insulin. See, I'll tell you, glucocorticoids are mainly steroids. So this is a difference. That's why the word corticoid is present. Corticoid word means that it's a steroid. Mineralocorticoid, it's a steroid. Insulin is a protein. That's the difference. But how the different function, this is what you have to find. Okay. Then hormone concentration in the blood are identified by which technique? Is written. Secretin is a hormone secreted by, I told you in the lecture, but here I am giving you 4 options: stomach, duodenum, colon, and cecum. Okay, stomach, duodenum, colon, cecum. So choose one and write down and find it out. Endocrine glands develop for the first time in which phylum? You must be knowing now. You should write it down. Give me some examples of neurohemal organs. And how do they differ from endocrine glands? What is homeostasis? And which systems in the body control homeostasis? Which systems? You have to write down the name of the systems. And then you have to also study why do we have 2 systems for homeostasis, or the control and the coordination. Why do we have 2 systems which control the coordination and control of body? Okay, this is all for today. We will be continuing with the same lecture. The PPT you have already have in my course MODULE1-Video1 You can study that PPT, and we will have a Zoom session also, or a Cisco WebEx session, and I'll try to solve out your doubts. The quiz you have already attempted. There must be some question which you have attempted wrong. Tally those questions and you find out your answers by yourself, and if you are not able to find out, then we can discuss that also in the next online class. Thank you. Happy learning.